I'm going to try to give you a little bit of a mindset shift about practicing that will make your practicing more efficient, more effective, and a lot more enjoyable and intentional. My name is Josh Gu, and after years of studying the clarinet with some of the best teachers from around the world, I am excited to be sharing my knowledge with you. So go to QuickStartClarinet.com or check the description on this video to see all of the wonderful resources I have to help you reach your clarinet dreams. And of course, subscribe to this channel for weekly clarinet and music tips and tricks. I think a lot of times, especially when we're younger musicians and sort of starting out, we don't really know how to practice or what practicing is really about. A lot of times our teachers will tell us to practice and maybe we kind of know what we should practice, but if you don't know why you're practicing or sort of the bigger picture purpose behind practicing, then it's not going to be nearly as satisfying. So I want to get into that a little bit and maybe give you a little bit of a different thing to think about that's going to be helpful for your personal practicing. So I want you to sort of think about if you've ever had a performance or maybe even just played something in the practice room or maybe in a rehearsal and it just sort of felt automatic and easy and you feel like you finally got it into your muscle memory. I think this happens pretty much with all pieces, especially once we learn them well. A lot of times you first look at it and you think, oh, this is really hard and really complicated. Your fingers don't know where you're going at first. And then after you practice it a little bit, eventually it's just automatic, it's easy. I think this comes across a lot in performances where you get to the hard part and you almost feel like you sort of black out. You go on autopilot, it plays itself, and then you feel good. You sort of surprise yourself that it went as well as it did in the performance because that's always been the hardest part. So what I want to do is tell you how to practice and the mindset to have to make that happen more regularly and get into that zone that the professionals are where everything is just sort of automatic and flows really well and you have the sort of freedom to concentrate on making beautiful music rather than worrying about where your fingers are going or actually getting the right notes and rhythms out. So that mindset shift that I want you to take into the practice room is that the purpose of practicing is to consciously train your unconscious or your subconscious or your muscle memory, whatever you want to call it. It's not really muscle memory. Our actual muscles don't have any memory in them, but somewhere in our brain we do have memory. It's sort of back here in the cerebellum, I believe, is where most of our sort of motor function comes from. It's the reason why if I asked you to like grab something or like shake someone's hand, you don't have to consciously think, okay, move my arm, grab the person's hand, shake. It's not awkward or robotic like that at all. What it is it's programmed into that cerebellum and you just automatically go for the handshake or whatever muscle movement it is. And that's sort of where muscle memory comes from, is that more unconscious. And that's why when you play that tricky bit that you know well, you're able to sort of just automatically do it because it's back here in the muscle memory and you're not having to think so much about making it go. But in practice, it's very easy for our muscle memory to make mistakes. The thing about the unconscious is it doesn't know what's right or what's wrong. It just gets better at doing whatever you're doing and just programs in whatever you happen to play. So that's where the conscious mind comes in, is all about programming that in. I made a video a little bit more in depth about this, where sort of the big brain versus the lizard brain, which is the same idea of like the big brain, the consciousness, sort of training that unconscious. But I think this specific way of thinking about it is actually really, really helpful as well. So when you go into the practice room, think about everything that you do, every little movement is getting programmed in back there. So you want to make sure that your conscious mind is on top of telling it what's correct and what's incorrect. This is why it's so important to go slow and make sure that you're playing really correctly and exactly how you want, and actually having an idea of how you want it to go in the first place so that you can really be always programming the correct things into your muscle memory and into the subconscious. I have a whole video on that sort of practice framework that I think might be really helpful to sort of go more in depth with this. And you can see throughout that framework how you can apply this idea of the consciousness, training the unconscious and really working together to build in the right movements and the correct things into your automatic muscle memory. The other thing that I want to include with this is I'm reading a fantastic book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. I heard about it and was recommended by Dr. Molly Gabrian on one of her videos. You should definitely check out her videos as well. Fantastic brain science. I did a recommendation video of all of her stuff before as well because it's fantastic, super fascinating brain science stuff. But in the book Why We Sleep, it talks about sort of this automatic training where actually while we're sleeping is when our brain sort of decides or knows what to keep and what to throw out. So that's also where we can be really deliberate about our consciousness as we're practicing, saying, this is how I want it to go, this is what I want to do, this is not what I want to do. So stopping when you make mistakes, going back and sort of overriding the mistakes with what is correct, that kind of stuff is going to be really impactful for your brain. And then while you're sleeping, it'll sort of lock all of that into your long-term memory so that you can do it automatically. And this is why sometimes when we're practicing something one day, it's just not working and it's really frustrating. And then after a good night's of sleep, the next day we come to it and it sort of plays itself and it feels like overnight we got better without actually practicing, and that's always really fun. So make sure that you're getting a good night's sleep so that your brain has time to do all of that processing, and as you're practicing, make sure that your conscious mind is being really deliberate about what it wants and making sure that you're always getting that, always programming the correct things into the unconscious. So next time you're practicing, take this mindset, think about what am I programming in, what is going to become automatic, and how can I make sure the correct things are what's becoming automatic and sticking so that it magically gets better day after day after day and eventually becomes automatic and easy in performance. So thanks so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you like these kinds of music, clarinet tips and tricks, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, leave a like on the video if you found this interesting. Comment with maybe some experience you've had of this where things just sort of come automatically and it feels amazing. I love to hear those kinds of stories. And make sure you're sleeping, make sure you're practicing intentionally, and I look forward to seeing you in another video.